everybody, welcome to Harmon Garage. I'm Aaron, and we've got a heck of a new project for you. I know it's been, for all my regular viewers, I know it's been a couple weeks since I put up a video, but as I've mentioned in videos before, I've got a lot of stuff going on right now, and not making excuses, but I'm just having a real hard time keeping up. So I'm doing the best I can. I want to keep getting content out for y'all. And at the end of the day, I need to keep getting content out for myself, but it's just been a lot going on and it's been rough. But anyways, enough of that crap. We got a new project, should be like a 2-part series, and I named it Dream On because I thought, man, it would be nice to have this truck. And then I looked at myself in the mirror and said, dream on. There ain't no way in heck I can afford anything like this. It's a 1967 C10, full custom interior, custom wheels. It's lowered. It's got a 454. Everything under the hood. It's clean and neat. And it's, I mean, just from the front to the back, it's just all original. Not all original, you know what I mean, but roll pan in the back, smooth tailgate. It's just beautiful and spicy. And if you like spicy, you go online to the link right here at the bottom of the screen that's down in the description. Get you some original Taco Casa hot sauce, because this is the best taco, or the best hot sauce on the market, in my opinion. And my friend Jeff actually reached out to this company for me to get me some Taco Casa hot sauce, because when I used to live in Texas and Arkansas and Oklahoma, they have restaurants, Taco Casa, and they are the best tacos ever, in my opinion. And now that I don't live in Texas anymore, I can't get them anymore. So my buddy Jeff reached out to him for me and said, hey, if you can send my buddy some Taco Casa hot sauce, he'll tell everybody how good it is. And they sent me some Taco Casa hot sauce, and I'm telling you guys how good it is. So I got a link to the website in the description below. And I'm telling you right now, if you're a taco entrepreneur like myself, or you want some good hot sauce, go get you some. But anyways, let's get back to the truck. We've got custom cream leather and snake skin seats, carpet. I mean, every piece of this truck has been touched in one way or another. Now, that being said, they didn't touch some important things. This truck was brought over to me from one of my buddies out of state, and ever since it got here, granted I could, but I haven't been able to make it run. I haven't, gone into it and started messing with timing and messing with the carburetor and all that, but in current form, the way it was brought here, I cannot get this truck to start. I cannot make it run. And that's part of the reason that it was brought to me. He wants to use it as a pretty regular driver, something he can go to local car shows with, something he can bebop around, whenever he wants to. And it just doesn't have that reliability, and it doesn't have air conditioning. So in this 2-part video series, we're going to upgrade this Edelbrock carburetor to a Holley Sniper EFI. We're going to downgrade, in most people's opinion, but it's an upgrade in my opinion, this whole ignition system to an HEI, because this thing, it's a decent motor. It's a 454 with headers with a mother thumper cam in it, but it's not making enough power that it needs all that. It'll run just fine on an HEI, and that simplifies it a lot, and it's just more reliable, less problems. So Holley Sniper EFI, HEI distributor. We're gonna run the whole fuel system. We're gonna hook everything up. I'm gonna go through all of it with you. And then when we get done with that, we've got a couple big boxes over here on the floor, and pardon the shop, it's a mess, but once again, we got classic auto air that we're going to throw in here. So it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And by the end of the second video, I'm hoping this thing's doing rolling burnouts down the highway in front of my shop. Now, I can assure you that there will be no rolling burnouts on the video because this is way too nice of a truck. And as much of a skilled driver as I am, and I feel that I could absolutely do it with no problems, you never know what's gonna happen, and this does not belong to me. So there will be no rolling burnouts, but it will have the capability of doing them. So let's get started. All right, so like I said, obviously first thing we gotta do, start stripping this thing down. And I'm not big on talking bad about other people, so not gonna say a whole lot, but there's multiple reasons why this stuff on here is just not working right. So we're not going to get into it. We're not going to try to fix it or anything like that because there's really no reason to. We've already decided what route we're going with this truck, so we're just going to get it done. I'm just going around and unhooking one thing at a time. Yeah, you gotta be really careful when you take these fuel lines off of these, because sometimes they'll hold pressure and they'll just start spraying fuel all over the place, which that one didn't. We're lucky. But sometimes they do. Sometimes they have pressure sitting on them and they'll just go to leaking all over the dang place. This one's got fuel in it. I don't want it to leak all over the place, so we're just going to tie it up. And, all right, it's not leaking right now. We'll take care of it in a minute. Alright, got our carburetor off, and it was severely overfueling, like extremely bad. And one time or another, well, maybe not, maybe this gasket just came apart, which is not good, but we'll have to get that cleaned up. No big deal. Next thing we're gonna do, I didn't mention this before, but before I ever even got started, I went ahead and disconnected the battery because I know we're gonna be messing with the ignition system, which could have power and whatnot. So we went ahead and disconnected it. And now we're gonna pull the distributor and all that stuff. So I'm gonna take the cap off the distributor. We'll see where it's pointing. And I'll try to roll the motor around if I can, get it close to number 1. If not, I'll wait. I don't even know if I can get under there to put my starter button on. So I can have somebody come over and bump the key for me, help me out, but we'll get it as close to number 1 as we can, so when we go back and stab our new distributor, it's not a big problem. So just keep on moving on. This thing's got all kinds of fancy on it, so we can't just pull the spark plugs off and take them off with the cap. It's got dividers and holders that are bolted onto the valve cover mounting bolts and everything else over here. So for right this second, we're just going to pull them all off with a cap. And obviously you can't go from this style distributor to an HEI distributor without changing wires and plugs, so we're gonna have to do that too. Alright, now I'm going to go through and I got to try to turn the motor over, bump things over. My distributor's pointing back at like cylinder 7. I need it pointing up here at number 1 at the right time. I have the number 1 plug out, so even if I turn the motor over by hand, I should still hear air coming out, and that should get us close. I got the motor brought around to where my distributor is pointed right here, which is pretty dang close to number 1. So I'm going to take a long skinny screwdriver. I'm going to put it down in the spark plug hole. And I don't feel a piston, which shouldn't be right at all. Should, even if it's not on the right stroke, there should still be a piston there. And I don't feel one. I'll give it another little bump. I put the fuel line for now into a water bottle over there and tied it up to where it can't come out. So. And I hooked the battery back up so I can bump the motor. So if I do pump a little bit of fuel, it's pumping it into a container over there and not all over the place. But I don't understand. Distributor's got to be way off. Alright, now we got it pointed almost at cylinder 2. And there's my piston, almost all the way to the top. So, yeah, that's not necessarily what we want, but we know we're close to TDC right there, which that means I can stab the distributor back in, and when we go to start it, it's either going to be close or it's going to be 180 out, which is easy to adjust. So we're at top dead center where I need to be. We can go ahead and pull the distributor. Okay, we got our clamp off, ready to pull our distributor. I have never in my life had a clamp that was that tight. Like, you'd think they put that sucker on with like a 6-foot cheater pipe. I know I leave mine a little bit on the loose side because if I ever have to make an adjustment, I like to be able to kind of bear down on the distributor and turn it. But this was just plain out ridiculous. I mean, that sucker was way, way, way too tight. So either way, we got it out. There is a ton of fuel in the oil. I can smell it on the distributor. And I knew there was going to be, because it was so rich, it was just dumping fuel down through the carburetor. Like it, so much so that when it finally found a spark every once in a while, it was backfiring really hard. And so we're definitely going to have to do an oil change, but we'll get to that once we get everything else done. So got the distributor out, got the carburetor off. I just need to take the electronics for the ignition system off and then start cleaning stuff up. We can kind of start going back together with it. I was just going over to set this distributor down with the rest of the pile of parts that I'm taking off, and I just happened to look down at it and I wanted to show you guys. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to show you, but the best I can. But I found part of the reason that it wasn't running or wanting to run, and I don't think it was getting much for spark. If it was probably kind of erratic and maybe not at the right time, because there's your pickup on the distributor. That sucker is like almost solid rust, and there's a magnetic pickup in there that picks up a reading every time one of those little studs goes by, and it should shoot, you know, as that stud goes by it tells it to fire, as the stud goes by it tells it to fire. Well, with them being all rusted up and junky like that, I doubt it was telling it at the right time, if at all. And that's probably part of our problem, why it would crank and crank and crank and crank and didn't want to start. And then every once in a while it would just do a huge backfire. I pulled the #1 plug out before I started doing anything so I could bring it over and find top dead center, and it was fouled out really, really bad. So combination of many things, but that distributor's a big part of it. So continue on. Alrighty, I'll come in here, do a little bit of cleanup. As you can see, most likely, I don't know 100% for sure you can, but I think you can probably see that I filled the intake up with paper towels so that none of this stuff I'm scraping off of here goes down in there. And just gotta get it cleaned up. I don't want to put a new gasket and the throttle body on with the old stuff sitting here. So alright, got that cleaned up. I'm going to go ahead and leave the paper towels in there, and we'll stab the distributor so that I still got it covered up while I'm reaching over it and whatnot. And I'm not going to worry, I'm just putting the distributor in there basically to fill the hole in the intake for right now. We're not like putting it back in, you know, because we're going to try to get it running right now or anything like that. We're just stuffing it back in there so that there's something filling the hole, and my oil pump priming rod should be lined up and everything else. So probably not even going to put the clamp on it at this moment. I'm just going to put it in because we're trying to seal it up. So right here we have the best HEI distributor that money can buy. No, we don't. There's no such thing as a bad HEI. I mean, in my opinion anyways. Anytime I ever need one, I go on one of the 2 or 3 websites online that are really easy to find parts on, and I get a ready to run distributor. Comes with the coil in it and everything. Like, it's literally ready to drop in the truck or car or whatever, hook spark plug wires up to it and fire it up. So one thing you do want to check is very important. Depending on what kind of cam is in the motor, it's going to depend what kind of bushing you have on the bottom of your distributor. Now, the guy that I'm working on this truck for put the cam in here. He told me what cam it is, so I know. And I know that this is the right gear to put in it. We don't need a brass one. This one will be fine. And this is the same gear that's on the distributor that we pulled out, and it doesn't show anywhere at all. So this gear's fine. But when you're doing this, if you pull a distributor out and it has a brass gear on it, you dang well better put a brass gear back in. So, or if you pull one out and it's got a steel gear like this that's beat to crap, probably not right. Or if you pull out one that has a brass gear on it that's dang near got all the teeth eaten off of it, probably supposed to have a steel gear. Should look into it and check, because it's not, they're not just all the same. You don't just grab a distributor and go woohoo, throw it under the hood and it's ready to go. Like, you do need to check that. It's actually very important. So that being said, let's go ahead and stick her in her hole. All right, like I said, we're not looking to get it perfect, but we'd still like it to be close. So we want our vacuum, we want basically our plug-in for our cap. I like to have them facing pretty straightforward, which puts your vacuum advance off to the passenger side. And then we should have our distributor pointing toward number 1, which I do know now, because remember our old distributor was turned, which means our oil pump rod is going to be off. So I'm going to get a screwdriver and we'll try to turn our oil pump back, and then we can get our distributor pointing at number 1. And hopefully I can kind of sort of do this by feel, because I do not think I can get my head in there with a flashlight. So apparently I'm losing it. I set that distributor down somewhere and now I can't find it. Oh, right here in front of my face. Okay. I don't know that I got that moved. I do know I can't get in there to where I can see it. So it's not going down all the way where we want it to. Actually, pretty well is. We got pretty close. I'm okay with that. We should be able to make that number 1. So it is all the way down, pretty much where we want it. So just gonna snug this clamp up by hand just so it doesn't have an ability to pop out, like so. And that'll be good. So now we can pull this out, and I'm gonna go get my sniper, We got silicone all over that valve cover. Wasn't me, haven't used none. I'm gonna go grab our sniper and gasket. We'll go ahead and set that on there to seal it up, and then I got started late today, and I got stuff I got to do with my daughter tonight, so I'm gonna go ahead and get that put back on there to seal this up, and we'll come back tomorrow and keep going. All right, well, in true Harmon Garage fashion, I came over here to get the throttle body from the sniper to put into the truck, and I opened the box, and I'm sitting here looking at it, and I'm like, huh, that looks like the fuel ports are on the front. They're usually on the back, but no big deal. They, you know, you can put them on the front or the back. And then I got to looking, and I'm like, well, wait a second. Why is there no linkage on the side? And then I got to looking at it, and I'm like, why is the linkage on the back? And it took me a second because I was expecting what we should have and not what we got, and it was misboxed. The part number on the box is right, but a tunnel ram throttle body, you know, so that they basically sit on there sideways and the linkages are in the middle and they're at the back or whatever. Tunnel ram style throttle body is what got put in the box, and that's not going to work for us. So I got with the owner of the truck that ordered the parts. Once again, he got me the right parts. It's just misboxed. And he got with the company that he bought it from, and they said absolutely no problem, get it sent back to us and we'll get the right one sent out to you. So that's going to slow us down a little bit, and we're not going to have the throttle body installed this video, which no big deal, we'll get it next time. But that being said, I don't want to run the fuel system till I have the throttle body on there, because I like to tie it all in. I don't want to just get my fuel lines close to it and go, oh, that's good. No, I want to hook them up, route them as cleanly as possible. So we're going to hold off on that too. Luckily, that's not all we're doing to this truck. So we can still keep moving forward and finish this video, because we have the classic auto air that is going to go in here. So I'm going to start looking through it, find out exactly what needs to be done for what to go where and who to go how and all those sort of things. And then I'll bring you guys back, and I'm assuming we'll start pulling a lot of stuff off of this, because we're going to have to be able to put condensers and dryers and boxes, AC boxes and everything else in. So I'm going to look it over. Been a while since I did one of these particular units, so look it over, see what it entails, and we'll get to it. All right, I got in here. I got the glove box taken out, got the glove box door out of the way. I just went ahead and did that so I could see in here more and see what was going on. And because the owner of the truck had their stereo system in here, and not something that I need to be just showing everybody where it is and what it is and everything else. So we got that out of the way, and had to start working on taking this old box out. Got to get the old controls out and whatnot. But in order to do all that, I have to disconnect the heater hoses. And in order to disconnect the heater hoses without making a big mess, I have to drain the radiator. And in order to drain the radiator without making a big mess, you probably can't even see it, but it's coming out of the trickle. It's already been draining for like half an hour. And I'm gonna let it keep doing what it's doing, because every drop of it is going in that pan, and that's what I want. I don't want it all over my floor. I don't want to be tracking through it, and so on and so forth. So I'm not in an extra huge hurry. We'll let it take its time. I also wanted to show you guys these. If you haven't seen them before or never heard of them, which I had seen them before but didn't realize I'd seen them, and I didn't know about them, These are called Power Grip by Gates, and they're essentially a heat shrink hose clamp. And now I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not doing an ad or nothing like that. I had just never seen them used for anything like this before, and they look super clean. I mean, they've got them on every hose under here, and they look way better than a big shiny worm clamp. You're not gonna dice your finger open on the tail that's hanging off of the worm clamp, nothing like that. So you just get them for the right size. Like this is 1 1/16 to 1 3/16. Slide it down over your hose, put your hose on, put it where you want it, and heat shrink it. And it's just like a hose clamp. It's pretty dang cool. I don't know much else about them. I just took a razor blade and cut it, popped it off, and the hose came right off. So I think it's pretty cool. I might start using them on stuff because they look really clean. On, you know, the kind of more show builds like this, I might use them. But in the meantime, I gotta wait to take my heater hose off of my heater box. I got the top one off, but the coolant's not low enough to take the bottom one off yet. And get it off, and then we can start taking that box out. It's a good chance I'm gonna have to pull the passenger front tire off and drop that inner fender down to get to that last bolt. But I'm gonna try everything in my power to not do that, because I don't want to. Not that I'm lazy and don't want to do the work. This thing's all put together and painted nice and everything. I don't want to take anything apart that I don't have to. So I'm gonna see what I can do about getting to that bottom bolt, why that's draining and whatnot. And maybe we'll get it, and maybe we'll have to take the whole truck apart. We'll see what happens. All right. As you can probably tell by the improved lighting and everything else, took the hood off. Got it out of the way, make life a lot easier. It's in a safe place, out of the way where nothing should happen to it. And then I got this hood hinge off also to allow me to get to the blower motor and this box. Now, generally, like on a square body, there's a bolt down here that you can't get to unless you're a contortionist, or you lose the inner fender or take the outer fender off or something like that. So I wasn't sure on this. I got to looking in there the best I could. I didn't see anything, so I said, okay, well, I'll just take the rest of the bolts off and see if there's one down there, see if something fights me. Well, there's one bolt here, 2 bolts underneath, and everything seems to be loose, so you should just be able to pull it out like so. Now we got our box out. A good opportunity to do a bunch of cleaning down in here. My shop vac's over in Studio 1, so I have to go over there and get it. Come back and we'll do a bunch of cleaning. We got to clean this. There's some cutting we got to do, so on and so forth. And honestly, because it just popped into my head, but it makes the most sense to me, I have to cut this across here and across here. Just take this centerpiece out. And at this very moment, with the inner box still in there, all the carpet and everything is protected from me cutting right here. So I'm gonna go get my little body saw and we'll just zippity zap that. And any little shavings we get out here shouldn't be able to get into anything that it would hurt. We can just vacuum them up. And then having the inner box still inside will save me from getting anything on any carpet or anything like that. So that makes the most sense. I'm gonna get the tools. We'll get her cut out. Okay, the best way to do this would be with a cutoff wheel, die grinder. whatever you want to call it. But I don't want to shoot the sparks all over. So Sawzall, kind of big to get in here. This should be more controlled. I got my air hose wrapped around my back. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's so that it holds it up and it's not rubbing and slapping on the body. So let's see if this is up for the task. This thing's really hit or miss. Sometimes it works pretty good. Sometimes I'd rather try to gnaw through it with my teeth. Today, I'm gonna say it's giving me like a 62% effort, and it's good enough for what we're doing. Alright, according to the instructions, that's all I need to do. Because when you put the block off plate out here, after all this is gone, where the hoses come through for the heater is right where that brace is. Alright, there it is. Said cut those pretty much straight across and open up that opening, so we did. Now I can get a razor blade over here and I'll clean off all that old sealant and whatever I can. Once again, I'm going to do as much of the stuff to out here as I can before I take that inner box off, because that way I'm not getting a bunch of stuff in there on the cream colored, light tan, whatever you want to call it, carpet and stuff like that. So there's a lot of cleaning up and stuff that I'm going to have to do in here. Not because of the mess that I'm making, but just because it's stuff that you couldn't get to before. Like down in here is really dusty and dirty. I might even try to feather in some fresh paint back here. I'm definitely probably going to have to do some paint here, but I'm going to get all the pieces and see exactly what I'm going to have to do before I start doing any of that. But yeah, you guys get the picture. I'm going to scrape all that goo off, and then we'll see what it takes to get that inside box off of there. Alright, I got all that cleaned up real good. Like I said, once we get the cover plates and stuff out and test fit it, we'll kind of see I don't know how long this has been painted flat black. I don't know exactly what semi-gloss or flat black they used on it and whatever, but I want to make it look the absolute best that I can. So I'm gonna have to kind of go inside that hump in there and down underneath and all the way up to the green and maybe just to that lip there. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure it out, but I want to paint all that because it's not all going to be 100% covered, and I don't want it to be super noticeable. I want it to look like it was done all at one time and it was good. So as far as under here, we got the new distributor set in. We don't have a throttle body or carburetor on it right now. I've already explained that whole situation to you guys. It's all covered up. I still have to take the ignition box and the coil off, but that's no big deal. We'll just unbolt those, get them out of the way, and then trace back and disconnect the wiring for them, and we might even reuse some of that wiring for the sniper that's going in. Inside here, we got our glove box out. We got our whole inside heater box out. We got our controls out. Now, when it comes time to reinstall all this, as much as it's gonna break my heart, we gotta drill a hole here. Same spot on the other side. And we gotta cut out up there in the center for a vent. And then we'll have our defrosters and whatnot. So anyways, I was hoping this video would be a lot more. I was gonna have the sniper back on. I was gonna have the fuel system probably ran, and maybe some wiring and stuff like that. But I wanted to have everything took apart and then the pieces at least bolted back on, and then I was gonna go to the next video and we were going to finish everything up and test run it. Well, things didn't exactly work out right. Like I've mentioned time and time again, for all you loyal Harman Garage fans that have been with me for a long time, I apologize that I'm not getting my normal every Tuesday upload out. I apologize that sometimes you're getting a house video that I know by the statistics you guys don't really give that much of a, you don't really care about, but that's something that I can do, and that's something that I want to do for myself so that I can look back on it later in the future. So if you watch them, I really appreciate you guys. Any views I can get help, and anything I can get at all helps right now. So like I said, I've had a lot going on. It's been hard to get stuff done, and I'm doing what I can. So thank you guys so much for watching. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you on the next one.